The cabin door slammed behind me like a gunshot in the still mountain air, and I froze on the threshold, my heart pounding as Dad's voice cracked through the dim living room. "What the hell is this, Emmett? You bring him here like it's nothing." Nicholas's hand tightened in mine, his knuckles white, but it was the way Dad's eyes, those same eyes that had cheered at my little league games, now burned with something feral, something I'd only seen in strangers, that ripped the breath from my lungs. I stepped forward, the floorboards creaking under my boots, tasting blood from where I'd bitten my lip too hard. "Dad, this is Nicholas, my partner, the one I told you about on the phone." But the words hung there, useless, as Aunt Rita gasped from the couch, her wine glass tipping precariously, and Uncle Hal muttered a curse under his breath, the fire popping like it was laughing at us all. That was the moment the weekend shattered. The one Dad had billed as a family reset at our old rest house in the Colorado Rockies, a place we'd escaped to every fall since I was a kid, trading Denver's chaos for pine-scented quiet and Esmores by the fire. He'd invited everyone. Mom, my sister Lila and her husband Tom, Aunt Rita and Uncle Hal, even great Uncle Frank with his endless war stories. And then, out of nowhere, 2 other couples. Strangers to me until the emails started flying weeks ago. Diversity night, Dad had called it, with that salesman grin of his, the one that closed deals on used Fords back at the lot. I thought it was his latest midlife crisis phase, some corporate team-building crap bleeding into family time. Turns out it was a trap. For me, I'd met Nicholas 6 months earlier, in the fluorescent hell of a Seattle coffee shop where I was grinding through my graphic design freelance gigs. He was a high school history teacher, all broad shoulders and easy laughs, with a voice that could recite the Gettysburg Address like it was a love letter. We'd bonded over bad lattes and worse exes. Mine a string of closeted flings that left me hollow. His a bitter divorce from a woman who'd called him confused one too many times. When I finally worked up the nerve to tell my family about us, it was Lila first, over FaceTime, her squealing support making me cry into my ramen. Mom had hugged me through the phone lines, promising apple pie when I visited. But Dad? Silence. Then this invite, "Come to the cabin. Bring who you want." Time we all talked. I should have known better. Dad was old-school American dream. Born in the Rust Belt, bootstrapped his way to owning that Denver dealership, flew the flag on the 4th and grumbled about kids these days over Bud Lights. He'd never said the word gay without a grimace, not even when the news ran those pride parades. But Nicholas, bless his optimistic heart, had seen potential. Maybe he's coming around, Em. This could be his way of showing it. So we'd driven up from Seattle in his beat-up Subaru, the Rockies unfolding like a promise. U2 blasting on the stereo as we held hands across the console. The rest house squatted at the end of a gravel drive, all knotty pine and stone chimney, the kind of place that smelled like wet wood and forgotten summers. Snow flurries danced in the headlights as we pulled up, the other cars already there. Lila's minivan, Dad's F-150, a sleek SUV that turned out to belong to the gay couples he'd invited. Yeah, couples. Plural. Javier and Marcus, a pair of architects from Boulder, sharp-suited and quick with the charm. And then Theo and Raj, professors from CU Denver, all tweed jackets and quiet intensity. Dad had found them through some online forum, he admitted later, his voice thick with what he called research. Turns out, he'd been lurking in acceptance groups, stewing over articles about family values versus modern sins, and decided to stage his own intervention. For the whole damn family. We'd barely unloaded the groceries. Cases of Coors, bags of marshmallows, the fixings for chili, when the first crack appeared. Dinner was supposed to be casual. Potluck around the massive oak table Dad had built himself back when I was 10. Lila chattered about the kids. Tom cracked dad jokes. Aunt Rita passed the cornbread. The invited couples fit in like pros. Javier telling stories about designing eco-homes in the desert. Theo debating Civil War tactics with Uncle Hal over seconds of pie. Nicholas sat beside me, his knee brushing mine under the table, a secret anchor in the chaos. I caught Dad watching us, his fork hovering, jaw set like he was sizing up a faulty engine. Then it hit. Great Uncle Frank, 3 whiskeys deep, leaned back and boomed. "So, these fellas, y'all play for the other team, huh? Back in my day, we didn't advertise that sort of thing." The room went pin-drop silent. Mom's smile faltered. Lila shot her a pleading look. Javier chuckled it off, smooth as ever. "Uncle, We've been playing for this team longer than you've been telling those foxhole yarns. Laughter rippled, tentative, but Dad's face darkened. He set his glass down hard enough to rattle the silverware. Frank's got a point. This ain't about advertising. It's about choices and how they affect the family. I felt Nicholas stiffen beside me. My stomach twisted. Dad, I said, voice low, what's this about? But he was already rolling, steamrolling like he did in board meetings. I invited these good men here to show us all sides. To talk real. Emmett, you've been hiding him, for months. Thought we wouldn't notice? Thought it was just a phase. The words landed like punches. Lila gasped, Dad, stop. But he didn't. He turned to the group, gesturing wildly. See? This is what happens when we pretend. Families fall apart. I won't let that happen to mine. Betrayal hit like a blizzard, cold, blinding, total. I'd idolized him. This man who'd taught me to throw a curveball and fix a flat tire. Who'd wiped my tears after my first breakup. A girl. Sure, but the hurt was the same. And now? He was using strangers, kind, patient strangers, to stage a goddamn exorcism. Nicholas's hand slipped from mine. He stood, chair scraping back. Mr. Hargrove, with respect, Emmett's not a problem to solve. He's your son. And love isn't a phase. It's the only thing that isn't. The room erupted. Aunt Rita clutched her pearls. Uncle Hal muttered about kids these days. Mom buried her face in her hands. Great Uncle Frank just poured another round. Oblivious. Javier and Marcus exchanged glances. Theo whispered something to Raj that sounded like, time to go. But Dad wasn't done. He jabbed a finger at me. You think I don't love you, boy? This is love, tough love. I read the stats. Higher divorce, shorter lives, the works. I won't watch you throw it all away. That's when the hook tore free. I surged to my feet, chair toppling. The photo album I'd been flipping through earlier. Full of us fishing at dawn, Mom's birthday cakes, Dad hoisting me on his shoulders at the county fair. Spilling across the floor like confetti from a broken dream. Throw it away? You're the one dismantling us. For what? Some Bible thump forum that says I'm broken? Nicholas isn't a stat. He's the guy who stayed up all night when I lost my job, who drove 14 hours to hold me after Grandma died. And you? You invited us here to fix me? Like I'm a dented fender. Tears burned hot, but I held his gaze, the fire's glow casting shadows that made him look like a stranger. Nicholas moved to my side, arm around my shoulders, solid as the Rockies outside. The invited couple stood too, not fleeing but flanking us, Javier's voice calm. We've been where you are, sir. My own father didn't speak to me for 5 years. But acceptance isn't surrender. It's seeing your kid whole. Theo added, softer. It's choosing love over fear. Every time. Dad's bluster cracked. He sank into his chair, whiskey forgotten, staring at the scattered photos like they were evidence in a trial he was losing. Lila knelt by Mom, whispering comforts, while Tom awkwardly patted Dad's back. The storm outside picked up, wind howling through the eaves, snow lashing the windows like it wanted in on the fight. Minutes stretched raw, aching silence broken only by the fire's hiss. Then, haltingly, Dad spoke. I saw you two in the car, laughing, like you used to with me. His voice broke, eyes glistening. Scared me, thought I'd lost that boy, the one who needed his old man. I knelt across from him, the rug rough under my knees, bridging the gulf we'd carved. You haven't lost me, Dad, but you gotta see Nicholas. See us. Or yeah, you will. He reached out, tentative, his calloused hand covering mine. Not a hug, not yet, but a start. The room exhaled. Javier cracked a joke about cabin fever making monsters of us all. And slowly, laughter trickled back. We cleaned up together. Righting chairs, salvaging chili, stacking photos like rebuilding a wall, brick by careful brick. That night, as Nicholas and I slipped out to the porch, wrapped in a shared quilt against the biting cold, the stars punched through the clouds like defiant fireflies. His head on my shoulder, breath warm on my neck. You okay? He murmured. I nodded, tracing the constellation we'd named after ourselves last summer, Orion's not-so-straight belt. Getting there. Think he will be too. Inside, voices murmured low, Dad's rumble mixing with Javier's cadence. Theo's questions drawing out Uncle Hal's grunts. No miracles, no Hollywood montage. Just the slow thaw of a November night, where fear met face to face with the truth. Love doesn't ask permission. It just shows up, uninvited, and demands a seat at the table. By morning, the snow blanketed everything in forgiving white. Dad cornered me by the coffee pot, mug in hand, eyes red-rimmed but clear. "Emmett, about last night." I braced, but he surprised me. I was wrong. Scared spitless, but wrong. "Nicholas, son, he's good for you. Hell, he's good, period." We hugged then, awkward and bone-crushing, the kind that mends more than it hurts. The drive home was quieter, but lighter. Lila texted pics of the group shot by the chimney. All of us, arms slung loose, smiles tentative but real. The invited couples swapped numbers, promising Denver brunches. And Dad? He called Nicholas Nick over flapjacks. Like it had always been that way. Acceptance isn't a thunderclap. It's the quiet after the storm. When you realize the house still stands. That weekend at the rest house didn't erase the cracks, but it taught us how to fill them. With grace, with guts, with each other. And in America, where we chase dreams down dirt roads and under big skies, that's the real family value.